Welcome to Mojo Plays. Today, we're heading to the Upside Down and looking for some Stranger Things as we check out the 10 weirdest PS1 games. For this list, we'll be looking at some of the most experimental and just downright mental titles released on the PlayStation 1 during its life cycle. We'll only be focusing on titles released outside of Japan because those oddities deserve a list all their own. What was the weirdest game you played on Sony's first console? Let us know down in the comments. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Sheep. The 90s era of video games will forever be one of the most experimental, with a wide range of titles seemingly trying to outdo one another with their outlandish premises and gameplay. And then there's whatever Sheep is. Taking on the role of a sheep herder, players attempt to guide a small herd of unruly sheep through a series of obstacles to the finish line within a time limit in order to progress through the game's numerous worlds. And that's not even mentioning your attempts to stop the despicable Mr. Pear and his hench cow's evil schemes. Herding the sheep is just as unruly as you might imagine, as the sheep are less than cooperative when it comes to completing said obstacles. The title was moderately well received, but has since faded into the background. Rising Zahn, the Samurai Gunman.
And by the way, my name isn't Johnny. It's the super ultra sexy hero, Zahn. What the hell are you talking about?
Raised in the Wild West, Zahn honed his gunslinger skills with his trusty sidearm Johnny No More, until he was the best in the West. He then continued his training by heading east by traveling to Japan and learned the ways of the katana. On his travels home, he discovers his quiet western town has become invaded by ninjas and creatures made of wood itching to taste his blade. Zahn can build up his combo meter, granting his sword extra strength and speed, and ends each area with a ranking from chicken to super ultra sexy hero, years before that poser Dante was aping his style. When you're the best of the East and the West, there's bound to be imitators, but there will only ever be one Samurai Gunman.
Baldies. Baldies puts you in God mode control over the titular Baldies as you help them thrive and survive against the Harries as the Baldies attempt to grow their communities until they can take over the rest of the world. Kinda sounds like you're helping the bad guys, but that's neither here nor there. The Baldies must complete various tasks to help the rest of the Baldies, such as building houses which can produce more Baldies who can complete even more complicated objectives. Baldies come in a variety of colors, each assigned to their specialties such as workers, builders, and even scientists. Occasionally, the Hand of God will be forced to intervene and get the Baldies back on task, but in most cases, the player's role is to simply guide the Baldies as they advance their civilization and defend against the Harries in a variety of levels. Fluid. Most music games are designed for the player to follow the rhythm of the beat as it plays out on the screen. Very few, however, especially back in the early days of the PS1, allowed players to create their own music. Instead of simply choosing tracks from a menu, players take control of a dolphin exploring the ocean and collecting dance and electronica music samples. Once players have collected enough samples, they can create their own tracks in the Groove Editor, adjusting tempo, pitch, and frequency of the beats, and then even use those created tracks as background music during their next venture into the ocean, seeking even more music samples. It might have been rudimentary for the time, but it's still an original take on the music genre that many developers haven't attempted in the years since. Nightmare Creatures.
Soon, he will complete his work. Tonight, as the sun sets on London one last time, he will unleash his demonic brood onto the streets.
Before there was Bloodborne, there was Nightmare Creatures. Many of the elements of Bloodborne fans of that title love, the dark gothic architecture, the Cthulhu-inspired monster creations born out of blood experiments, and even elements of the latter game's intense combat are all present here. Players can choose between two characters, each with their own arsenal of guns and magic spells, and must maintain an adrenaline bar by continuing to engage in combat before it begins to eat away at their health. With fast-paced combat and one of the creepiest atmospheres this side of Silent Hill, Nightmare Creatures might be showing its age, but fans of Bloodborne should still check it out. And unlike Bloodborne so far, this one actually has a sequel. Hogs of War.
You recruits are here for one reason only, and that reason is war! I said war!
War games are nothing new, but using pigs as the infantry to defend a series of islands in the South Pacific Ocean, well, that makes people stand up and take notice. Heavily inspired by the Worms series, players have access to various squads of pigs and their unique sets of skills and items while taking direct control of one pig at a time as they maneuver around the battlefield. The countries represented might be fictitious, but their inspirations are very clear, as developers leaned heavily into the World War I conflict in the early 20th century, with the overall goal being to conquer every region and claim the swill, or the game's lifeblood, of pigs. Individual pigs can receive commendations as well as move up in rank, and with the game's semi-permadeath, every pig's bacon is on the line.
You over there! Yes, you! There are no squares in nature. Break up those straight lines with natural foliage.
Skull Monkeys. Claymation and stop-motion animation are some of the most time-consuming yet detailed forms of media in the entire film genre. It's for this exact reason this type of animation is so rarely seen in the video game medium. Skull Monkeys uses this art form to create a unique visual style unlike anything seen at the time, and thankfully, has a story just as crazy to go along with its visuals. As a direct sequel to the adventure game The Neverhood, in which the main character Clayman, get it, must stop the evil Clog from finishing his quest to destroy Neverhood. Clayman has all the abilities normally associated with the 2D platformer genre, in addition to a number of weapons and projectiles he can use. Sadly, the visuals were the main draw of the title, as critics called out much of the game's generic gameplay and overuse of the same environments and level design.
Cool.
VibRibbon. VibRibbon is the epitome of minimalism in art. Featuring nothing but a black background and a series of vibrant white squiggly lines for the player character Vibri to interact with, VibRibbon stands out with its unique art style in the genre of musical games seemingly more focused on the spectacle of the music playing on screen. Helmed by Parappa the Rapper creator Masaya Matsuura, the player must navigate Vibri through the music using only 4 combinations of button prompts while dodging the many obstacles standing in their way. The title also allowed gamers to use their own music to randomly generate levels based on the tempo of the music they selected. VibRibbon was such a success, it spawned 2 sequels that were sadly only ever released in Japan. Pandemonium.
That was fun. Horrible, but fun.
Are you looking for something to spice up those boring nights? Pandemonium. Are you wanting a game filled with thrills, spills, and platforming skills? Pandemonium. Want to experience the after effects of licking a gas station bathroom door handle? Pandemonium. Ever wanted to test your jumping skills as a frog or cheat death using the shell of a turtle? Pandemonium. Instead of jumping on enemies, why not stop them in their tracks with your freeze ray? Pandemonium. Tired of always following the straight and narrow? Choose your own path with Pandemonium. Does the world not respect you because you're a clown who talks to himself? Make a wish that everyone was just like you in Pandemonium.
Oh boy. I think we're gonna need another wish.
Incredible Crisis. Have you ever had one of those days where absolutely everything that could go wrong does go wrong? This is exactly what happens to one poor family over the course of a single day as they attempt to simply make it through their daily routine and try to get home for the family's grandmother's birthday. Everything from a dancing minigame to flying a jet and even fighting an actual UFO gets in the poor family's way. The eclectic selection of minigames keeps things fresh and wildly unpredictable as players take control of each family member as they're placed in increasingly insane situations in a pre-WarioWare world before all ending up at the family's front door in time to surprise Grandma. The things we do for our family. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from Mojo Plays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.